happy Friday morning, and hey, it's a great special day today. I have John Coghill on the porch. Hey John, how you doing? Hey, and cheers to y'all today. And John, man, I'll tell you what, is a fantastic singer. I remember seeing him the first time performing with Guys in Thin Ties, and it was an 80s tribute band, right?
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, just an incredible, powerful front man, you know. So welcome, John. I'm glad you're on the front porch this morning.
Thank you, Steph. It's great to be here. What an honor and fun. This is fun. So, thanks.
Great. And I'm glad you could take your time out. I know a lot of people are busy, you know, and it's really cool they could take time out of their schedules and come hang out with me on my front porch. So welcome. So are you originally from Maryland, John?
No, I was born in New York, but my family moved down here when I was 5, so been here quite a while.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you know, I think Razzle said he was born up in New York as well, and then they moved down here from Long Island.
Yeah.
So that seems to be kind of a little bit of a pattern I'm starting to see here.
Maybe. We were more Western New York. Matter of fact, I think we're closer to New York City here than Rochester, where I was born.
Oh, yeah, Rochester. Hey, that's where the Rochester Institute of Technology is, RIT.
Yep.
I had a couple of guys that I was in the military with that went to RIT for photojournalism school.
Oh, right.
So that's a great school up there.
Yeah.
So were you close enough up there to get any type of lake effect snow or anything like that?
I'm sure, but like I said, I was 5 when we moved, so I don't really remember.
Well, you know, when we're 5, we love snow, so it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if it's 2 inches or 6 feet. We're going to be out playing it.
Yeah, back then, I mean, I grew up in Braddock Heights, and we got some pretty good snows up there.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good. So, you know, I want to talk about, you know, how you got started in your performance career. You know, I mean, a lot of guys started, you know, when they're teenagers. You know, how did you get your start?
Well, the rock and roll thing, definitely. I think I was 16 with my first band, but prior to that, you know, my family, my sisters, my mom, they were all into theater and musicals. And
Oh, that's great.
So we did a lot of singing, you know, in the car and stuff like that. And so I think you know, really my mom and my sisters taught me how to sing. But yeah, from there, I remember these guys had a band in my high school, Middletown High School, and I was jealous. I was like, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah.
So the next year, my junior year in high school, they asked me to come sing, and I did, and from there, you know, it's been I've been hooked.
Yeah, that's cool. So what year was that? Was it in the 70s or early 80s?
So, yep, 79.
79.
Yep.
Oh, wow. So, you know, I remember I was actually in a band in 79 at the same time, you know, in my late teens as well. So, yeah, I could totally relate to that, you know, especially when you see other guys doing it and you're like, wow, I really want to get into that too. You know, that's really cool.
Yeah. And the fun part is, so Pat and George Shepard, they had started the band. The band was called Illusion, and I get together with those guys to this day. I mean,
really, that's so cool.
Yeah.
You know, what's funny is the guys that I played with, I'm still connected with on Facebook as well.
Right.
Jeff Up and Sam Valerio, we played together in a band called Expressway, and then another band with Sam Valerio was called Myth.
Oh, neat.
You know, so do you remember what inspired you to start singing? I mean, other than just, you know, family stuff, you know.
Well, I think, you know, we all have heroes, you know, that we saw doing rock and roll, whatever, and
Right.
and I think that's what inspires you, is you want to emulate, you know, your heroes.
Right. Now, I know you sing songs by Boston, and you know Boston was really getting big around the time we were going through those influences, you know, with Brad Delp coming out and barking out the vocals on those Boston albums.
Plus the guitar sound that they had, it was like, what is that? You know?
It's amazing. You know, Tom Scholz, he was really a genius, you know, when he put that together. No band whatsoever. He was doing everything when he first recorded it.
Right.
Then he had to find guys that could step up and
what
fill
a group
those
of guys
roles.
he found. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Barry Goodrow, you know, on the guitar, Brad Delp to sing, you know, just an amazing crew.
Yeah.
And it just blew me away the first time I heard you sing some Boston, I was like, wow, not very many people can pull that off, That was amazing.
Well,
I think Kyle Stuhler, is that how you say his name? From Everrise was the only other guy I ever seen to be able to pull off a Boston
Oh, that'd be
song.
fun. I haven't heard him do Boston, but
Yeah.
gosh, he does. I hear songs and I think, man, Kyle would sound great singing that song.
Yeah. And the first time I ever saw Everrise, they were doing Boston. And I was like, holy crap, what band does Boston,
Right, yeah.
And then I saw you doing it with Forewarned, and I was like, wow, that's just incredible. And talk about a dynamic band. I really love that band.
Oh, good. Thanks. Thank you.
So what was the first band that you were in? Was that the one that you just mentioned?
Yeah, Illusion.
Illusion
was the very first band, yep. And we were together a couple years, and the fun story about that is Middletown High School had a terrific choral director, Evelyn Sullivan, and she was very supportive, even of us doing rock and roll. But we made a deal with the school. If we sold a certain number of tickets to a concert on the stage at we could host this event, and we had to get staff that would volunteer to come in, and so it was a lot of work, especially for a bunch of teenagers. But we pulled it off and had a really great show.
That's
on the
cool,
stage.
man.
Yeah, it was fun.
I think it's really cool when the mentors or teachers we had in the past would get involved in our goals and our.
She let us rehearse in her room after school. She had PA speakers and microphones that we could use. And it was fun.
I actually had a band teacher that let us do rock band practice in one of the practice rooms. And I remember one day he came in and stuck his head in the door and he goes, guys, decibels do not make music. We just thought that was funny, because it was just so loud. When you were kids, we just wanted to turn it up as loud as we could.
That's right.
And that just still sticks in my mind, But I think that was the only time he ever really interjected into what we were doing. Well, that's cool. So, what dynamics do you like about being in a band? I know a lot of people have different perspectives of, what it's like to be in a band, what their expectations are. What dynamics do you really like about being in Guys in Thin Ties and Forewarned?
Well, it's interesting. So Guys in Thin Ties play a genre of music that I didn't really pay attention to. I mean, a lot of the songs, sometimes they'll bring a song to rehearsal and I'll be like, I have never heard that song in my life. And, but I can't tell you, I had so much fun singing it.
Yeah.
It's really been fun to sing. And, but it's songs, a lot of songs that I never would have thought to sing,
Right, that old Euro electronica.
Exactly. I mean, at the time, I didn't really think it was rock and roll. I was still listening to the 70s guitar heavy, But
I think a lot of us were until the hair metal came out, We were listening to, Head East, Queen, some of them other mainstream rock bands, Peter Frampton,
right,
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think we tried to drag that into the 80s. And, of course, the new wave was coming into play, B-52s.
Right.
And Human League and those kind of electronica pop music, I guess that's what you call it, electronica pop.
Yeah.
It was a whole new thing, that new wave.
It was, but the thing that I think the Guys in Thin Ties bring to those songs is, it's live rock and roll still,
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's fun.
Yeah, and I like the way you mix it up too. You do mix up some of the rock songs from the 80s as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't just stick to all that.
Right.
The
we'll
synthesized stuff.
We got our 8th anniversary show Saturday. And, we'll finish up with some Poison and Guns N' Roses.
Oh, that's cool.
And AC/DC,
That's cool. So you get a little bit of hair metal in there.
Right. That's
cool. That's really cool. So, I know Bill Blythe is your bass player, and I really like him a lot. He's quite a character, and I think he brings a lot to that band as well.
Oh my gosh, he brings everything to it. He's the band mom, the leader. He does it all.
Oh wow, that's cool. I didn't know that about him. I mean, a lot of bass players, they tend to be laid back and kind of low key when they're in bands. But I know Bill. He's just the opposite. He is.
Yeah. And gosh, he is he's got a music encyclopedia in that brain, and he knows every part of every song, and really helps us get it right.
That sounds like Dave O'Connell. You got two bass players that do that, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dave O'Connell's the same way. He just knows those songs inside and out.
He does. He's the musician in Forewarn, that's for sure.
Yeah, he really. So you got two bass players that pretty much know those songs inside and out, can be coaches.
That's right. Yeah.
In No Exit, that's like Kenny Eccles. He's our drummer.
Right.
Man, he knows those songs intimately. And if I miss a bass part or something, he just like, whoa, time out.
Right.
It goes like this, dude.
Yeah.
So I got the drummer actually coaching me how to play the bass, which is cool.
It is.
Man.
It is cool, and that's I guess the dynamic of being in a band. You all help each other get the things.
Well, they
right.
say bands are like a marriage or a family, So you're going to have your ups a lot, but sometimes you're going to have your lows,
Yeah.
But it all works together when everybody's off the same sheet of music.
Right. Yeah.
So, definitely. Do you have any experience in like doing any recording work or session work?
A little bit. The Shepherd brothers and I worked with a couple different bass players on some songs that were recorded at Track Studios, which was a big studio in Silver Spring. Our sound engineer was Mark Green, who had Dog and Butterfly under his belt. He was the sound engineer for Heart. Yeah, and it was really cool to meet him and work with him, and he did a great job. And so we created this tape back in the day to get to Clive Davis. So my claim to fame is that I have a rejection letter from Clive Davis.
That's funny.
So
that's cool. I really liked that song "Dog and Butterfly" too, because it was so unique. And if you have a really good producer behind, an original song,
right,
they're going to bring the best out.
Yeah.
So that really is a good reflection on them. To have that producer bring that song
right
out,
Yeah. And I've worked on some other original music with Joe Bellavia, awesome guitar player. He's out in Colorado now, but he used to live here in Frederick, and then he works with Dale Sewell, and they've got some great original recording. And so we did. I recorded about eight or nine songs with them that they had written and pretty much written the vocal parts for too. So I just had to come in and sing them. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Good.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So have you had any experience with songwriting yourself? I mean, have you written anything original?
Yeah, I have. I have a few and a ton of lyrics that have never been used. Some have been used, but I think my last creativity was for Kelly, who is amazingly supportive of my singing. But I wrote a song for her on guitar and sang it
that's awesome.
At our wedding. Yeah.
Well, it is important to, our band wives, they're very supportive, and I think that's what makes us successful on stage is when our wives or girlfriends or significant others are very supportive
Absolutely.
Of what it is we're doing and what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Yep. I love having that support.
I'll tell you what, it really is good to have your partner and best friend in your corner when you're up on stage,
Yeah.
And Michelle, I have to brag about her. She's probably more of a marketing person for my bands than anything,
great.
So she's out there, trying to drum up the interest and get people to follow us and stuff. And so I think she just takes that extra step. And I notice Kelly does that too. Kelly, I've talked to her a number of times, and she's out there just pushing it. Hey, they're going to be playing here. Check it out.
Yeah.
They're going to be doing this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Check them out on social media.
But speaking of support, that's something I want to say about the Frederick community. I mean, you and Michelle. I mean, you guys are so supportive of both my bands. You come all the time, and you see a lot of the familiar faces. The people that go around and hear the live music, and it's just amazing. and awesome. But it blows my mind, at this age, I never would have thought I'd still be,
right?
Trying to make it,
I feel the same way. When I was a teenager, just starting to do this, never in the wildest dreams did I ever think that when I reached my 60s, that I would still be rocking a bass. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I mean, back in the 70s and 80s, there weren't many 60-year-olds out there doing it.
I know, isn't that crazy? But I think our generation was really influenced by the rock and roll movement, that was happening. My parents, they were influenced by the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, and but to them it was more of a novel thing. They thought, well, it's eventually going to fizzle out.
Right.
But for us, it was all we knew.
Right.
From the time we were little till the time we in our formidable early adult years, it was rock and roll, baby.
Right. And, the famous guys are carving the way for us. Kelly won tickets to see Paul McCartney this past summer. And he was fantastic. 80 years old, and he's out there rocking.
I know, isn't that cool? But that gives me hope.
I know.
You
got a few more years left.
Well, if you keep moving, you don't sit still, and just keep that motion going.
That's right.
I think we can all do that, And if we're up on stage, we're moving, man. We're moving.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So that's really cool. Okay, so today we have chocolate chip cookies. Michelle made chocolate chip cookies, Toll House cookies for John. She reached out to John, and John says, "Man, I like chocolate chip cookies." Actually, I think Kelly told her. So that's a good wife that knows what your favorite goodies are,
Yeah.
And then so Michelle reached out, and we made some Toll House cookies for John. And man, go ahead and enjoy that, man.
Yes, thank you, Michelle.
And we really appreciate you guys joining us today. And like I said, anybody can be on the front porch. You don't have to be a musician. You don't have to be an artist. You can be a business owner. You could be my neighbor across the street. You could be somebody that I met down at Food Lion, somebody in the produce section, the guy that puts out the melons, Anybody. So if you want to get on the front porch, reach out to me. You can contact me through Facebook. Just look up Steph Doyle. Look for the ugly mug here and reach out to me through Instant Messenger. And or you can get in touch with me through YouTube, our YouTube channel as well, and reach out to me. And we will certainly try to get you on the front porch and talk about some really cool stuff. We like to talk about life stuff, interesting stories, crazy things that happen to us.
Definitely.
Anything that is, an emphasis on the journey of life. We all go through crazy things, right? We all go through these crazy things, and we want to share those with people. Sometimes we don't want to share those things with people. But anyways, thanks for joining us today. We'll get you back to the interview. Now, I know you're getting ready to retire, and I think that's awesome. Congratulations. You made it.
Thank you.
I just retired recently, and I'm loving it. I'm just loving it. So, as performers and stuff, it's really hard to pull up roots and then move on to a new area and then try to reconnect. So do you have any plans on maybe continuing on with maybe performing? Or?
Oh, absolutely. It's like I said, I just can't believe that we're still doing it at this age. And
right.
But I'm going to keep riding it out as long as I can. And I feel like I'm singing pretty well these days, so I just got to keep going, I think. So.
Well, I just talked to Moira recently, and she sent me a bunch of remedies because this time of year, the pollen really just tears me up. I mean, you can hear in both of our voices. We're talking a little bit raspy as a result of it. Yeah. The spring pollen with all these trees blooming and everything else. And so, what I'll do is I'll send some of those your way.
All right.
Those. Yep. She turned me on to some dietary supplements and some good practices to keep our voices healthy for singing.
She's actually hooked me up with a remedy or two of hers. It was so funny. I was at a party at the Robinsons, Mel and Danny.
Yeah.
And I started complaining because I had a sore throat and I had a show coming up. Well, Maura was there, Bill Curtis was there, and Martin was there, and they all had remedies for me. And they're
3 powerful singers.
That's right. They were all gathered around.
That's good to know that you got all these guys in your corner, looking out for you. And that's another cool thing about the Frederick music scene is we all look out for each other. It's not really competitive. It's more supportive, I think, than anything.
It felt very supportive. What was funny is all 3 of them showed up at the show that weekend. I think they wanted to see the shit show.
Oh, no.
No, it was fun. I'm just kidding. They wanted to see if their remedies worked.
Yeah, well, that's cool, And I know Martin was struggling with that for a little while, too. And he was taking a little bit of coaching and mentoring with his vocals, and I think some of those remedies were helping him as well. Him and Dominique, they're both going through a little bit of rough patches here and there, and I think that's just from doing it all the time.
I think they're singing great. I mean, I've seen an improvement. I think over the time when Voodoo first started. I think they.
Oh, absolutely. Great. I mean, they're. Even that when I first saw them, I thought, wow, these guys are really good. But, their game is ramping up as they start to bring in new material and more challenging material,
Right.
It really blew me away that Martin was actually singing a song by Queensryche, and
he was excited about
that. And Tate, he's an opera singer,
Right. Yeah.
So if Silent Lucidity is not an easy song to sing, so it really blew me away when he pulled that off. So that's really cool.
How about you? Are you singing?
I'm just doing a couple of songs right now. I'm trying to get back into it, but I'll tell you, I started taking bass lesson or drum lessons from Johnny Signs.
Right.
Not to be a drummer, but to teach me to compartmentalize so I can play the rhythmic parts on the bass and be able to sing a melody that doesn't match the rhythm that I'm playing,
Right.
And it's quite a challenge. It really is. That's why you don't see too many bass players singing. Now, I watched Dave O'Connell and Bill both just knocking it out of the park, and I'm thinking, wow, it takes a special talent to do that, With me, it doesn't come so easy. So, but I'm working on it, and Kenny and Steve Beck and Joe Smith and No Exit are so supportive of that right now. They're really encouraging me to continue on and try to build that arsenal up a little bit, where I'm going to be singing front on a number of songs in the future.
That's
and I have a little bit of a higher range too, not quite as high as you and Bill Curtis, but I do have a range that I could probably sing a little bit like Sebastian Bach if I had a real powerful voice. I'd be in that range.
That's cool. Good.
So, what bands are you in? I mean, I know we mentioned Men in Thin Ties, or Guys in Thin Ties, and Forewarned. Any other bands?
No. And 2 is tougher than I thought. The Guys in Thin Ties, like I said, we're having our 8th-year anniversary, which is a milestone to me, and it's been tons of fun. We were getting about 30 to 35 shows a year, which was great.
Yeah, that is great.
Yeah, it was really awesome. But I had this goal of 50.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so that's when I decided I wanted to add Forewarned. I saw that they were looking for someone to sing, so I auditioned and got the job. And then the pandemic came and just kind of wiped everything.
I know, isn't that crazy?
So I was taught a lesson in humility, I think. So I still got the goal. So we'll see what happens down south.
Yeah, that's cool. So, it's really funny is I had just joined No Exit a month before the pandemic kicked in. And we were just ramping things up to get ready to take off. And then, wham, it just kind of slowed us right down.
I know.
And it took us almost 2 years to finally get it together enough to be able to play out.
Right, yeah.
So I think everybody kind of felt that, especially in the live performance areas, some of the smaller bands. I know Jimmy Rickard had Betting on Austin, which is a 3-piece. They were still out there doing it every now and then, but some of the larger venues, it was just almost impossible to get back into those. So, was quite a learning experience for all of us, but now look at it.
Yeah.
It's flourishing again.
It is,
Isn't it? It's awesome.
We'll get back.
Looks like you got a bee.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh. He's a honeybee, though.
That's right. Yeah.
He's not going to mess with you.
No.
Probably going after our cookies, right?
Cookies are delicious.
That's one of the things that's really cool about the Front Porch is we have all these insects. We have airplanes flying over. We have guys cutting down trees with chainsaws in the background. It's just we're not holding anything back, on the front porch.
Beautiful out here.
It really is
Gorgeous
nice. I'm so excited for summer to finally get here. So, where can we find you on social media?
That's a good point. I personally need a better presence, social media. But of course, Guys in Thin Ties have a website, www.
Is it GITT?
Yeah, getband.com.
Yeah.
And then Forewarned is on both Facebook and they have a website as well.
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll put links in the bottom. So when you click on the More tab at the bottom, you'll be able to see links to the bands and then any upcoming shows that you have before you bug out of here.
Yeah, I got a couple more with each.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool that you're just, riding it out until the very end. And just keep supporting these guys. And I know it's really hard to transition. It's probably one of the toughest things that anybody can do, not with just music career, but any career, or any type of project that you're involved in where you have to transition out of something you really, really were totally into or enjoyed, you know?
That's been one of the hardest parts, is leaving the bands.
Right, and then our Frederick band family.
I know. Like I said, everyone has just been so supportive, and they're gluttons for punishment. They keep coming back.
Well, we're going to be coming and seeing you guys down in the Myrtle Beach area when we come down there in August. So we're looking forward to be able to hang out with you guys. And,
awesome. Yeah,
and just check to see where you're at.
Yep. I'll be Tanner.
Yeah, well, I'll just be starting on mine. But that's cool. All right. And another thing I wanted to mention before we wrap things up is the Razzle Report. And, Razzle Markell, he is probably the live music scene's best friend.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Not only is he in a couple of bands himself, but he actually gathers a lot of the events in the north central Maryland area. In South Pennsylvania area, and puts together the Razzle Report. And if you want to see a live performance this weekend or any weekend, just look up the Razzle Report. We'll also have a link to the Razzle Report underneath at the bottom as well. And get out there, support your live music. Get out and support these bands.
Well, that's what I was going to say about Razzle is not only does he do the report, which is awesome, but if you're lucky enough to have him show up at one of your shows, he's just so positive and encouraging, and just only
he is. He really, and when I had him on the porch a few weeks back, he was just such a dynamic guy. He actually brought some of his guitars, and he was showing his guitars.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool. That he was just so open to share, everything that's going on with him and his music journey, and I think this whole family of musicians in this area is just incredible, and so much talent, man.
Right.
It just blows me away how much talent is in this area. So if you want to come on the Front Porch and, just reach out to me, connect with me on Facebook, just look up Steph Doyle. And look for my ugly mug in the profile picture, and then just reach out to me, connect. We can get you on the Front Porch and find out what's going on with your journey. And I talk to artists, I talk to business owners, musicians, pretty much anybody. I can even talk to my neighbors. I think we're going to have one of my neighbor kids come over. We're going to talk about his favorite colors.
Awesome.
So, anybody that wants to come on the Front Porch. Well, John, it's been awesome this morning. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks again for the honor.
And thanks for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed our visit on the Front Porch today. And keep checking back. We're going to have many episodes coming up with a lot more people
What
from
a
that band
fantastic
family.
idea! I think it's just so fun, that you do this.
Yeah, it's just a good chance to relax. Now, I don't know what we're gonna do in the winter time. We'll have to be
Parkas.
we'll be sitting on the hearth of the fireplace or something like that. But we'll figure it out, But thanks for joining us today, and have a wonderful weekend. Keep on rocking.